Hello, my name is Gabriel Diano, and I chose to do my term paper on the social problems in education, and how to solve them. Because nowadays, education is a strong force that we must look into and treat, since it is the pinnacle of how we become the next generation to take over the world and to take care of it. But there are a lot of social problems and issues that have people unable to reach their full potential. And in my essay, the first thing that we talk about is basic literacy. We see that not a lot of people are able to read well, which creates people who are below level and basic level levels of reading compared to people who have high levels of literacy. So, for example, the school system doesn't have monitoring measures to make sure that the students are reading well. Each school system has different methods of teaching, which in some schools it could be lower than others. So this leaves for certain people to graduate with low levels of reading or basic levels, which in turn gives them less of an opportunity to have jobs that require more skills. For example, those schools that are like private, they teach them well, have a more of a better policy to teaching, and they graduate with higher levels of literacy, which acquire them jobs that are better. That people who go to schools that are of less measure cannot graduate with such literacy. So first, in solution to that, I suggested that schools should monitor closely to see if reading levels are adequately progressing. Each school should have the same standard within each state, so that they can have kids graduating with high and adequate reading levels to ensure that we all can have better paying jobs. The next thing I talked about in my essay would be educational access and achievement. Sometimes parents do not have the income, or do they support their children when they're trying to learn. So this doesn't allow them to reach their full potential. With less money, they're not able to acquire the tools like tutors to help them learn. And because the parents are always out trying to grind up enough money, then they aren't there to help the children when they need them. So the children end up graduating with less education and are just like their parents, and end up with less money, which in their turn their kids wouldn't get the support or income to go to good schools. And in our school education system, schools depend on taxes of the neighborhoods. Well, these individuals go to neighborhoods that have less tax revenue, so the schools end up with less money. So this makes it so that the school doesn't have enough resources or tools to teach. So in solution, I would say that they should raise the minimum wage so that people can have more money to help with income and the revenue for the area, so that the school can have more money to teach the kids. Or the government should just step in so that they don't have to rely on these people. The next thing I talked about was gender and education. I talked about how society has forced gender roles on us to make men to be seem stronger and women are weaker. So teachers focus more on boys and they silence girls. The boys focus on math and science while the girls are on reading. And this creates a gender disparity where men will acquire high-paying jobs and women the easier, less demanding work. And as the chart shows in the essay, we see that in engineering, physical sciences, architecture, and business, men are prevailing, and women are prevailing in education and health professions, which have less income and less to do with science. So in solution, I would say that they should allow females to prosper along with the boys, since they are capable, just as capable to perform the jobs like engineering and business, like the men. The next thing I talked about was that there is ethnicity and race problems in education. There's lots of racism during school, so this creates stereotypes that makes minorities feel like they're destined to be into their world, so they don't try as hard to graduate with good grades. It holds them back. And they end up in lower income schools because this is how their parents ended up, which has less tax revenue, so the schools don't teach them as well as they should. And there exists de facto segregation, where because of this, they don't allow people of low income families to mix into schools with people of higher income. So it makes it so that people who already have the money to have more education, while those who don't have as much money won't get the same education. So in solution, they should end education, it's de facto segregation, and stop stereotypes so that the students don't fall into the same roles. And lastly, I talked about violence and harassment, where students are struggling mentally and are acting up because there might be troubles at school, or they see on TV how the world is being ruined. So instead of they act up right at school, and instead of the school helping them, they end up reacting with violence, arresting them brutally or detention without anything. So what my solution would be that they have counselors or programs to help reorient students, make them know what is better and how to help them. So overall, I think that if we make these changes, that then students will be able to learn more and education can prosper, where the whole United States will raise up in basic literacy. More people are working, women are in positions just as men, so that we can all prosper and be more and catch up to all the other nations in terms of education. Thank you.